The Grand Council of the Unified Galactic Alliance had convened for what should have been a routine meeting. Nothing exciting ever happened in these meetings. Nothing exciting had happened anywhere in the known universe for about 1,000,000 standard cycles, which was exactly how everyone liked it. Another successful millennium of peace to report, announced High Counselor Zeptaric, his 6 tentacles waving in a gesture that indicated supreme satisfaction. The Alliance continues to thrive without incident. I suppressed a yawn. As junior diplomatic observer from Proxima Centauri, my role was purely ceremonial. My planet had joined the Alliance only 8,000 years ago. We were still considered newcomers. Yes, very good, muttered Senior Ambassador Pax Noor seated beside me. Her crystalline exoskeleton glittered under the chamber lights as she leaned toward my audio receptor. Only 6 more hours of this, and then we can enjoy the reception. I hear they are serving fermented gas clouds from Betelgeuse this cycle. Delightful, I whispered back, trying to sound enthusiastic. My name is Tirovax, and I had been serving as junior diplomatic observer for nearly 200 years. 200 years of perfect, idyllic, mind-numbing peace. The chamber doors suddenly burst open with a thunderous boom. Every being in the room turned in shock. No one ever burst into the Grand Council chamber. It simply wasn't done. A breathless Floraxian messenger stumbled in, all 4 of his eye stalks extended in alarm. Emergency transmission, he gasped, the leaves on his skin trembling. From Sector A219, Observation Post Gamma. High Counselor Chotaric's tentacles stiffened in annoyance. This interruption is most irregular, messenger. What could possibly constitute an emergency in these peaceful times? The Floraxians seemed to shrink under the Counselor's gaze. It's a new species, Your Excellency. They have achieved faster-than-light travel. A murmur rippled through the chamber. RIFTL capability meant automatic consideration for Alliance membership. It happened perhaps once every 1,000 years. Hardly an emergency. That's your emergency, scoffed Ambassador Noor. Schedule them for first contact protocols. Standard procedure. We already did, stammered the messenger. They shot at our envoys. The chamber went completely silent, then erupted into chaos. Silence, roared High Counselor Tariq, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. His skin had turned a dangerous shade of purple. What do you mean they shot at our envoys? No species has committed violence against Alliance representatives in over 800,000 years. The messenger's leaves were now shaking so violently I thought he might shed them entirely. The species calls themselves humans. They come from a planet they call Earth. When our standard greeting vessels approached their first FTL ship, they opened fire without provocation. Casualties? Asked Sub-Counselor Drieg, her serpentine body coiled tightly in concern. 2 Alliance peacekeepers dead, replied the messenger, 3 wounded, 1 ship destroyed. The chamber erupted again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Violence, death. These concepts were practically theoretical to most Alliance species now. Many younger races had never experienced them at all. Where is this Earth? Demanded Tariq. Sol System, Milky Way Galaxy. Sector 8219, replied the messenger. A collective gasp. Sector 82-9 was supposed to be uninhabited except for pre-FTL civilizations under standard non-interference protocols. But that's impossible, I found myself saying aloud. All eyes and various sensory organs turned to me. I immediately regretted speaking. I mean, our survey ships mapped that sector thoroughly just 20,000 years ago. No species there showed any signs of developing FTL capability within the next 1,000,000 years. Apparently, we were wrong, said Tariq grimly. Ambassador Noor's exoskeleton had paled considerably. These humans, they went from primitive to FTL in 20,000 years? Less, actually, said the messenger, consulting his datapad. According to our records, they were using primitive stone tools just 10,000 years ago. The implications were staggering. Most species took at least 1,000,000 years to develop from basic tool use to FTL technology. Some took 10 million. The current record was held by the Pix, who had managed it in a mere 300,000 years, and they were considered savants. This is unprecedented, murmured Sad Counselor Drieg, and deeply troubling. There's more, said the messenger, looking like he wished he could sink into the floor. After the attack, our remaining vessels retreated to observation post Gamma. The humans pursued. They destroyed the outpost. Completely. Over 200 Alliance personnel were stationed there. The chamber fell silent again, but this time it was the silence of horror. "How many survivors?" asked Tariq, his voice barely audible. "None confirmed," replied the messenger. I felt physically ill. 200 lives snuffed out by a species we hadn't even known existed yesterday. It was incomprehensible. "We must convene the War Council immediately," declared Tariq. Another gasp rippled through the chamber. The War Council hadn't been convened in over 500,000 years. Many didn't even know it still existed. "Surely that's premature," objected Ambassador Noor. Perhaps this was all a misunderstanding. A tragic first contact scenario gone wrong. "A misunderstanding," bellowed Tariq. "They pursued our retreating vessels and destroyed an observation post." "That is an act of war, Ambassador. We should at least attempt communication," suggested Sub-Councillor Drieg. "Perhaps they misinterpreted our greeting as hostile intent." "I agree," I said, surprising myself again. "We know nothing about these humans. Their psychology, their society, their perception. First contact is always delicate." Tariq's tentacles writhed in frustration. "Very well, we will attempt communication one time. But I want our defense forces mobilized. If these humans truly seek war with the Alliance, they shall have it, and may the cosmos have mercy on their primitive souls." As the chamber erupted into frantic discussion, I found myself oddly excited. After 200 years of diplomatic tedium, something interesting was finally happening. Of course, I immediately felt guilty for the thought. 200 Alliance citizens were dead. This was a tragedy, not an adventure. But still, I couldn't help but wonder about these humans. What kind of species develops so quickly? What kind of species responds to a peaceful greeting with violence? What kind of species would dare challenge the unified Galactic Alliance with its million years of peace and prosperity? I had no idea then just how thoroughly I was about to find out. 3 standard days later, I found myself aboard the diplomatic vessel Hope of Reconciliation, heading directly for the Sol system. As a junior diplomatic observer from one of the Alliance's newer member species, I had been deemed expendable enough for this potentially dangerous mission, yet senior enough to represent Alliance interests. "Lucky me." "Nervous, Junior Observer Vex?" asked Senior Diplomat Ula Aksan, her feathery crest rippling in what I recognized as amusement. Aksan was from Rejal 7, a species renowned for their diplomatic skills and infuriating calm in the face of crisis. "Not at all," I lied, my secondary heart pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. "Just eager to make first contact with a new species." Second contact. Technically, she corrected. The first didn't go so well. "Perhaps they were simply startled," I suggested. "Many primitive species react with aggression to the unknown. They pursued and destroyed an observation post." "To Vex," she reminded me, her crest now lying flat against her skull. "That's not startled. That's hostile." "I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation," I insisted, though I wasn't sure at all. "Your optimism is charming," she said with a trill that indicated she found it anything but. "Just remember the protocols. If anything happens to me, you immediately retreat to minimum safe distance and await instructions from the High Council." "Nothing's going to happen to you," I said, attempting to sound confident. "Of course not," she agreed with a flick of her tail. "Because we will be extremely cautious. These humans have already demonstrated they are unpredictable and dangerous. We will not underestimate them again." Our ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, a safe distance from Earth, but close enough to establish communications. "Scanning," announced the pilot, a gelatinous Medusan whose tentacles were interfaced directly with the ship's controls. 8 planets, numerous smaller bodies. Third planet from the star shows significant technological development. Detecting approximately 200 orbital structures. "Wait. What is it?" demanded Tom. "I'm detecting weapons. A lot of weapons. Both planetside and in orbit." "Are they aimed at us?" I asked, my secondary heart now threatening to burst from my chest. "Negative. They don't seem to have detected us yet." "Good," said Kazan. "Let's keep it that way until we are ready to announce ourselves. Maintain position and passive scanning only." For the next several hours we observed Earth from afar. The more we learned, the more concerned we became. "This can't be right," muttered the science officer, a spindly Arcturian with 12 limbs and a brain the size of my torso. "According to these readings, they have only had electrical technology for less than 300 years, spaceflight for less than 100, and yet they have achieved FTL," finished Kazan. "Impossible." "Not impossible," corrected the science officer. "Just unprecedented and deeply concerning. A species that develops so rapidly must be extraordinarily adaptable and dangerous." "Or extraordinary, period," I suggested. "Maybe we should be impressed rather than frightened." Kazan gave me a look that suggested I might be naive enough to pet a hungry Venetian tiger snake. "Their technological progression isn't the only concern. Junior observer, we have been monitoring their communications. Do you know what the majority of their broadcasts are about?" I shook my head. "Conflict," she said grimly. "War, violence. Even their entertainment focuses on it. These humans are obsessed with fighting." "That's not unusual for a young species," argued the science officer. "Many go through militant phases before achieving social harmony." "Yes, but most species outgrow that phase before developing interstellar travel," countered Kazan. "These humans have done the opposite. They have accelerated their technological development while maintaining primitive social structures." "They are like children with planet-killing weapons," murmured the pilot. "Exactly," said Kazan. "And now they are venturing into space. Our space." "But surely they can be reasoned with," I insisted. "No species is inherently evil." Kazan's crest rippled in what might have been pity. "Your species is young. Vex, you haven't seen what I have seen in the historical archives. Before the Great Peace, species like these humans nearly destroyed the galaxy several times over. They expand aggressively, consume resources without thought, and attack anything they don't understand." "You are judging them based on one incident," I argued. "No, I'm judging them based on their own history," she replied. "We have decoded enough of their communications to piece together their planetary development. Do you know how many major wars they have had just in the last 100 years of their history? Dozens. Thousands of smaller conflicts. Billions dead by their own hands." I felt a chill run through me. That's impossible. No species could survive such self-destruction." "That's just it," said the science officer, mandibles clicking in agitation. "They don't just survive it, they thrive on it. Each conflict pushes their technology forward. They develop weapons, then adapt those weapons for peaceful use, then develop better weapons. It's like nothing I have ever seen." "We should report this immediately," said the pilot. "The Council needs to know what we are dealing with." "Agreed," said Kazan. "Prepare a data packet for transmission back to Alliance space. Include all our observations and analysis. If anything happens to us, the Council should at least know why." "That's not very reassuring," I muttered. "It's not meant to be," she replied. "It's meant to be realistic. Now, let's prepare to announce our presence." Carefully, we composed a simple greeting message in the humans' most widely used languages, which our linguists had already started to decode. The message emphasized peace, explained the misunderstanding at first contact, and requested dialogue. "Message ready for transmission," announced the communications officer, a bioluminescent Luxian whose skin flashed patterns of light as she spoke. "Send it," ordered Kazan. "And may the cosmos grant us wisdom." The message was sent. We waited in tense silence for a response. 1 hour passed, then 2. Nothing. "Maybe they didn't receive it," I suggested. "They received it," confirmed the communications officer. "We are detecting increased communications chatter among their orbital platforms. They are discussing us." "By any indication of hostile intent?" asked Kazan. "Difficult to say," replied the officer. "Their language is colorful, and they seem to threaten violence quite casually, even among themselves." "Wonderful," muttered Tuck. Suddenly, the communications panel lit up. "Incoming transmission." "On screen," ordered Kazan, straightening her posture. The view screen activated, revealing a human face. The being had pale skin, dark facial hair, and 2 intensely focused eyes. It wore some kind of uniform with symbols I couldn't interpret. "This is Admiral Jack Reeves of the Earth Defense Force," the human announced in a deep, resonant voice. "We have received your transmission. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." Kazan stepped forward. I am Senior Diplomat Ula Kanzan of the Unified Galactic Alliance. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations with your species. The human's face remained impassive. Your alliance fired on our exploration vessel without provocation. 13 of my people died. Then you have the audacity to claim you come in peace? Kanzan's crest flattened in confusion. Admiral, I believe there has been a serious misunderstanding. It was your vessels that fired upon our greeting ships. We lost 2 peacekeepers in that encounter, and later 200 more when your forces destroyed Observation Post Gamma. The human's expression darkened. That's not what happened, and you know it. Our logs clearly show your vessels fired first. As for this observation post, we detected a heavily armed installation tracking our movements. When we approached to investigate, it opened fire. We defended ourselves. I exchanged glances with Kalazan. This contradicted our reports entirely. Could there have been such a catastrophic misunderstanding? Admiral, I said, stepping into view. I am Junior Diplomatic Observer Turov X. May I suggest we exchange data logs of both incidents? Perhaps by reviewing each other's records, we can determine what truly occurred. The human's eyes shifted to me, narrowing slightly. And why should we trust you to provide accurate records? Why indeed, muttered Kasan under her breath. Because, I said, thinking quickly, the Alliance has maintained peace among thousands of species for 1,000,000 years. We have no reason to provoke conflict with humanity. It would be illogical. The humans seemed to consider this. Very well, we will transmit our logs. But be warned, any aggressive move will be met with immediate response. Understood, Admiral, said Kazan. We seek only truth and peace. The transmission ended. Kazan turned to me, her crest rippling in what I recognized as irritation. That was presumptuous, Junior Observer. You should have let me handle the negotiations. With all due respect, Senior Diplomat, you seemed ready to accuse them of lying. That wouldn't have been productive, she hissed softly. They are lying, or mistaken. Our reports are clear, and they seem equally confident in theirs. I pointed out, shouldn't we at least examine their evidence before making judgments? Before she could respond, the communications panel lit up again. We are receiving their data transmission, announced the communications officer. Screen it thoroughly for any potential cyber threats, ordered Kajan. Then transfer it to the analysis team. While our specialist examined the human records, we continued passive observation of Earth. The more we learned, the more confused I became. Their social structures make no sense, complained the cultural specialist, a multi-brained thinker from Tau Ceti. They are divided into nearly 200 separate political entities, many in active opposition to each other. Yet they have somehow managed to create a unified space force. Threat often unites disparate groups, noted Kizan. Yes, but who's threatening them? Asked the specialist. They have been alone in this system until now. Perhaps they threaten each other, suggested the science officer. Their history suggests as much. Or perhaps, I said, a troubling thought occurring to me, they have been expecting us. Or someone like us. All eyes turned to me. Kajan's crest rose in alarm. Explain. Their entertainment transmissions, I said. Many depict contact with alien species. And in an alarming number, those aliens are hostile invaders. Fiction. Dismissed Khan. Yes, but fiction often reveals cultural anxieties. I argued. What if they fired first because they have spent centuries imagining that aliens would come to conquer them? What if they attacked out of fear? That's no excuse for violence, said Kazan firmly. No, but it might be an explanation, I replied. And understanding their mindset could be crucial to preventing further bloodshed. Before the debate could continue, the analysis team reported their findings. We gathered in the conference room to hear the results. We have examined the human records of both incidents, began the lead analyst, a holographic projection of data swirling around her elongated head. And they don't match our reports at all. As expected, said Khan dismissively. They are trying to justify their aggression. That's just it, continued the analyst, ignoring Kazan's interruption. Their records are extremely detailed. According to them, our greeting ships approached with weapon systems active and refused to respond to communication. When the human vessel attempted to retreat, our ships pursued, at which point they opened fire in self-defense. That's absurd, exclaimed Kamsan. Alliance greeting protocols explicitly forbid weapons activation during first contact. Nevertheless, that's what their records show, said the analyst. As for observation post Gamma, their logs indicate the station locked weapons on their vessels as soon as they entered the sector. When they sent communications asking for identification, the station responded with weapons fire. This makes no sense, I said, my mind racing. Why would Alliance personnel violate our most fundamental protocols? They wouldn't, insisted Kansan. The humans must be fabricating these records. To what end, I challenged. If they wanted war, why agree to this diplomatic meeting at all? Why share their records? Kazan had no immediate answer for that. There's something else, added the analyst hesitantly. We have been analyzing the debris field from observation post Gamma. The molecular composition of some components doesn't match Alliance technology. A heavy silence fell over the room. Are you suggesting, said Kaizen slowly, that observation post Gamma wasn't an Alliance installation at all? I'm suggesting we can't rule out the possibility, replied the analyst carefully. We need more data. Just then the ship's alert system activated. Senior diplomat called the pilot over the comm system. We are detecting multiple vessels approaching at high speed from Earth. They appear to be military in nature. Have they locked weapons on us? Demanded Kazan. Negative. But they have established a perimeter formation around our position. On screen, ordered Keynes. The view screen activated, showing a dozen sleek, angular vessels surrounding us at a respectful distance. They were clearly warships, bristling with what I assumed were weapons, but none were pointed directly at us. We are receiving a transmission from the lead vessel, announced the communications officer. Put it through, said Kazan, straightening her posture once more. Admiral Reeves appeared on screen again. This time he wasn't alone. Several other humans stood behind him, all in various uniforms. Senior diplomat Kazan, he began without preamble. We have reviewed your transmission logs from the first contact incident. End, prompted Kazan when he paused. And they don't match ours at all, he said grimly, which means either you are lying, we are lying, or someone else is involved, I finished for him. The human's eyes fixed on me, a look of grim appreciation crossing his features. Exactly. Someone who wanted our species to start off on the wrong foot. Kazan's crest rose in alarm. That's a very serious accusation, Admiral. Who would have the motive or capability to do such a thing? We were hoping you might have some ideas, replied one of the humans standing behind Reeves, a female with dark skin and penetrating eyes. You are the ones with 1,000,000 years of galactic history. We just got here. This is Dr. Amara Okafor, our xenobiological specialist, introduced Reeves, and she raises a good point. We are new to interstellar politics. You are not. I found myself nodding. The Alliance does have enemies. Not many, and none that have been active in thousands of years, but they exist. Junior observer, kissed Kazan in warning. They deserve to know, senior diplomat, I replied firmly, especially if they have been dragged into a conflict not of their making. Kazan's feathers ruffled in agitation, but she didn't contradict me further. There are species who rejected Alliance membership, I explained to the humans. Some because they disagreed with our principles of non-interference, others because they preferred isolation, and a few because they had other plans for the galaxy. Like what? Asked Dr. Okafor, leaning forward with interest. Conquest, exploitation, domination, I replied. The usual ambitions of young, aggressive species. Most grow out of such impulses as they mature. A few don't. And you think one of these outsider groups might be trying to provoke a war between humanity and your alliance? Asked Reeves. It's a possibility we should investigate, I said carefully. The alternative is that either your people or mine are deliberately lying, which seems less likely given the circumstances. Agreed, said Reeves. So how do we proceed? Cautiously interjected Kamzan, apparently deciding to rejoin the conversation. If there is indeed a third party manipulating events, they won't be pleased by our cooperation. Then perhaps we should give them something to worry about, suggested Reeves, a predatory smile crossing his face. It was a disconcertingly aggressive expression, and I felt my secondary heart skip a beat. What do you propose? Asked San, her tone wary. A joint investigation, said Reeves. Your diplomats, our military escort, We return to the site of observation post Gamma and examine the evidence together. Kazan's crest flattened in thought. That would be unprecedented. The Alliance Council would need to approve such cooperation with a non-member species. With all due respect, senior diplomat, I said, by the time the Council debates and approves such action, any evidence could be long gone. If we are going to discover the truth, we need to act now. Junior Observer Vex makes a valid point, said Dr. Okafor. Time is a factor here. Kazan looked from me to the humans and back again. I could almost see the calculations running behind her eyes. Finally she sighed, a whistling sound through her neck gills. Very well, we will accompany you to the site. But at the first sign of treachery, we will retreat and report directly to the War Council. Is that clear? Crystal, replied Reeves. We will depart in 1 hour. I suggest you prepare your analysis equipment, and perhaps say a prayer to whatever cosmic forces you believe in. I have a feeling we are all going to need it. As the transmission ended, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and dread. In just a few days, I'd gone from bored diplomatic observer to potential peacemaker between humanity and the Alliance. If we succeeded, we might prevent an interstellar war before it began. If we failed, well, there was a reason the Alliance had maintained peace for 1,000,000 years, and that reason wasn't mercy. I just hoped these humans were as reasonable as they seemed. Because if they weren't, and this was all an elaborate trap, the Alliance would respond with force unimaginable to a young species like theirs, and humanity's brief venture into the stars would end as abruptly as it had begun. But something told me there was more to this story, and more to humanity than met the eye. I was about to find out just how much more. Our small convoy approached the debris field that once was Observation Post Gamma. 6 human vessels surrounded our diplomatic ship in a protective formation. I'd like to believe it was for our safety, but I wasn't naive enough to miss that it also prevented any sudden departure on our part. Commencing detailed scan of the debris field, announced our science officer, their 12 limbs dancing across the control interfaces. Initial analysis confirms previous findings. Some components match Alliance specifications, but others don't. That proves nothing, said Kebzen dismissively, her feathers rustling with irritation. The station could have been using non-standard equipment for specialized research. I kept my thoughts to myself, but Kebzen's defensiveness was becoming increasingly frustrating. She seemed determined to believe the worst about the humans, despite mounting evidence suggesting a third party's involvement. Incoming transmission from the human flagship, reported our communications officer. Admiral Reeves appeared on our view screen, his face set in grim determination. Senior Diplomat Kazan, we have completed our initial scans. Our analysis shows weapons signatures that match neither Earth technology nor the Alliance specifications you have shared with us.
Is that so?
Kazan's crest rose slightly in what I recognized as reluctant interest. Can you identify the origin? Not precisely, admitted Reeves. But we have detected unusual energy patterns consistent with quantum phase shifting. This revelation sent a chill through me. Phase shifting. That's impossible. The only species to ever develop that technology, the Vraxan Imperium, finished Kazan, her voice barely a whisper. I take it that name means something to you, said Reeves, his eyes narrowing. Tizian and I exchanged glances. The Vraxan were the stuff of nightmares, ancient legends told to frighten younglings. They had nearly conquered the galaxy 500,000 years ago before being defeated and exiled beyond the galactic rim. The Vraxan Imperium was an aggressive, expansionist power, explained Kazan carefully. They were defeated by the Alliance approximately 500,000 years ago and supposedly driven to extinction. Supposedly, Reeves raised an eyebrow. There were rumors, I admitted, stories that some escaped into deep space, vowing to return and take revenge on the Alliance. And you didn't think this information might be relevant to our current situation? Reeves' voice had taken on a dangerous edge. Admiral, these are ancient legends, countered Kazan. No confirmed Vraxan sighting has occurred in 500,000 years. Most member species consider them extinct. Well, extinct or not, someone with their technology signature just tried to start a war between our civilizations, said Reeves. I suggest we focus on that rather than historical debates. Agreed, I said quickly before Kazan could respond. If the Vresigar or someone using their technology are behind this, we need to understand their strategy. Isn't it obvious? said a new voice. The view screen split to show Dr. Okafor, who had apparently been listening from another vessel. They want humanity and the Alliance to destroy each other. Classic divide and conquer. But why now, I wondered aloud. Why target humanity specifically? Perhaps because we are new to the galactic stage, suggested Okafor. Unpredictable, potentially volatile. The perfect catalyst for conflict. Or perhaps, said Gon slowly, because you have developed faster than any species in recorded history. That makes you a threat. Or an asset, depending on one's perspective. Reeves frowned. You are suggesting these Viraxan might want to recruit us rather than destroy us. It's possible, admitted Kazan. The Viraxan were known for assimilating useful species into their military hierarchy. A sudden alert blared through our ship, multiple vessels dropping out of hyperspace, announced our pilot, panic evident in their fluctuating bioluminescence. Alliance reinforcements? Asked Kazan hopefully. Negative, replied the pilot. Unknown configuration. Not Alliance. Not human. The view screen shifted to show 3 massive ships materializing nearby. They were angular and predatory in design, covered in what appeared to be overlapping plates of black metal that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Viraxan battle cruisers, breathed Kajin, her crest flattening against her skull in fear. By the cosmos, the legends were true. We are being scanned, reported our science officer, and they are powering up weapons systems. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Kajin, transmit emergency distress signal to Alliance headquarters. The humans, I said urgently. We need to warn them. They can see what's happening, snapped Kazan. Let them handle themselves. I ignored her, activating the communications panel myself. Admiral Reeves, these are Viraxan warships. Their technology far exceeds both ours and yours. I suggest immediate retreat. Reeves' face showed no fear, only cold calculation. Not an option, Observer Vex. If these are the ones who tried to trick us into war, I want answers, and I want them now. Admiral, you don't understand, I pleaded. The Viraxan were the most militarily advanced species the Alliance ever faced. Your weapons will be useless against their shielding. We will see about that, growled Reeves. The transmission cut off. Incoming transmission, announced our communications officer, from the Viraxan vessels. On screen, ordered Kazan, visibly steeling herself. The view screen flickered and revealed a being that haunted the collective nightmares of 1,000 worlds. The Valkonsan commander had grayish, almost translucent skin stretched tight over a skeletal face with no visible nose, just 2 vertical slits. Its eyes were large, entirely black, and devoid of any recognizable emotion. When it spoke, its lipless mouth barely moved, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Alliance vessel, the Vrishan said, its voice oddly melodic despite its horrifying appearance. How fortuitous to find you here, and with your new human friends as well. Introductions are in order, I believe. We know who you are, said Kazan, her voice admirably steady. Viraxan Imperium. Thought extinct for 500,000 years. The creature's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile. Exiled. Not extinct. An important distinction. Senior diplomat Kazan of Regil 7. A chill ran through me. It knew her name, her species, which meant, you have been watching us, I blurted out. For how long? The black eyes shifted to me, perceptive, junior observer Tiro Vex, of Proxima Centauri. Yes, we have been watching, learning, preparing for 500,000 years. We have waited in the darkness between galaxies, and now the time of our return is at hand. So it was you, accused Dazan. You manipulated the first contact between humanity and the Alliance. You wanted us to destroy each other. Of course, agreed the Viraxan commander with disturbing casualness. The Alliance has grown soft and complacent in its 1,000,000 years of peace. But these humans, they are different. Young, aggressive, adaptable. They achieved in 10,000 years what took most species millions. Fascinating specimens. We are not specimens, came Admiral Reeves' voice. The view screen split again to include his face, now hard as stone, and we don't appreciate being manipulated. The Viraxan commander's attention shifted. Admiral Jack Reeves, Earth Defense Force. You should be honored. We have chosen your species for a great purpose. And what might that be? Asked Reeves, his tone dangerous. To serve the Imperium, of course. Your natural aggression and technological aptitude make you ideal warrior servants. Prove your worth by destroying this Alliance vessel, and you will be granted favorable status in the New Order. I held my breath, watching Reeves's face carefully. Would humanity choose alliance with the Raxan? Their technology was clearly superior. From a purely strategic perspective, it would make sense. Reeves was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. That wasn't a pleasant expression. Let me make sure I understand, he said slowly. You tried to trick us into fighting a peaceful civilization of thousands of species. You killed 13 of my people to do it, and now you are offering us a job as your attack dogs? A simplified assessment, but essentially correct, confirmed the Viraxan. Reeves nodded thoughtfully. Then his expression hardened. I have got a counter-offer. Leave this system now, and we will let you live. The Viraxan commander made a sound that might have been laughter. Brave, but foolish. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our shields, human. Maybe not, agreed Reeves, but we are quick learners. Without warning, the human vessels opened fire on the Raxan cruisers. As expected, the energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against their advanced shielding. A futile gesture, said the Viraxan commander dismissively. Now witness the consequence of defiance. One of the Raxan cruisers turned its weapons toward the human fleet. A beam of intensely focused energy lanced out, slicing through one of the smaller human vessels like it was made of paper. The ship exploded in a silent flash, debris scattering across the void. Monster! I shouted, forgetting diplomatic protocol entirely. No, corrected the Raxan, conqueror. There is a difference, junior observer. It turned its attention back to Reeves. The next demonstration will target your flagship, Admiral. Reconsider our offer. Serve or perish. To my astonishment, Reeves looked completely unperturbed by the destruction of his vessel. Interesting weapon system you've got there. Energy-based, quantum phase variant, highly effective. He paused, then smiled again. The thing about energy weapons, though, they are predictable. The Viraxan commander tilted its head slightly. Your point, Admiral. My point is that while you were busy giving speeches, we were analyzing your shield frequencies. Before the Viraxan could respond, the remaining human vessels launched what appeared to be primitive missiles. I almost laughed at the futility of it. Kinetic weapons against Viraxan phase shields. Useless. Except, the missiles passed through the shields as if they weren't there. They detonated against the hull of the Raxan cruiser that had just fired, creating a series of explosions that ripped through its armor plating. Impossible, hissed the Viraxan commander, genuine emotion showing for the first time. How did you bypass our shields? Like I said, replied Reeves coldly. We are quick learners. Your shields are tuned to stop energy weapons and normal matter, but they can't stop both simultaneously. So we created phase-shifted warheads. Simple, really. Once we saw how your technology worked. Admiral, I said, unable to contain my shock, how could you possibly develop countermeasures so quickly? The Alliance spent decades perfecting anti-Viraxan weapons. Reeves glanced at me briefly. Observer Vex, humanity has spent its entire existence preparing for threats we couldn't even name. We have imagined 1,000 different alien invasions in our fiction. We have wargamed every possible first contact scenario, and we have never stopped developing weapons, even during times of peace. His eyes hardened. You call that paranoia, we call it survival. The damaged Viraxan cruiser was now venting atmosphere, listing heavily to one side. The other two were moving into defensive positions. This changes nothing, snarled the Viraxan commander. You have damaged one vessel. We have thousands more beyond the rim waiting for the signal to invade. The Imperium will rise again. Maybe, conceded Reeves. But not today, and not in this system. He turned to someone off-screen. Major Patel, deploy the resonance torpedoes. The human vessels launched another volley of weapons. These looked different, emitting a strange rippling field as they approached the Viraxan ships. When they detonated, there was no explosion, just a wave of distortion that passed through the cruisers. At first nothing seemed to happen. Then, to my amazement, the Viraxan ships began to vibrate. The vibration increased rapidly until their hulls started to fracture, pieces breaking off and spinning away into space. What did you do? Demanded the Viraxan commander, actual fear now evident in its voice. Harmonic resonance, explained Reeves matter-of-factly. Your hull material has a unique molecular structure. Very strong, very light. But like all materials, it has a resonant frequency. Hit that frequency hard enough, and, he gestured to the disintegrating cruisers, well, you can see the results. This is unprecedented, murmured Kazan beside me, her crest fully erect in astonishment. No species has ever defeated Varaxan warships so quickly, not even at the height of the Alliance's military power. The Varaxan commander's transmission was becoming unstable as its ship broke apart around it. This isn't over, humans. The Imperium never forgets, never forgives. We will return, and next time. The transmission cut off abruptly as the command cruiser split in two, secondary explosions blossoming along its spine. For a long moment, there was silence on our bridge. Then Kazan turned to me, her feathers quivering slightly. Junior Observer Vex, I believe we need to update our assessment of humanity's threat level. Before I could respond, Admiral Reeves' face reappeared on our view screen. Senior Diplomat Kadazan, Observer Vex. I suggest we return to Earth orbit for further discussions. I believe our respective governments have much to talk about. 3 standard days later, I found myself in an unprecedented position, seated at a conference table on the human space station Unity, participating in preliminary membership negotiations between Earth and the Alliance. The station orbited their planet, offering spectacular views of the blue-green world below. High Counselor Tariq himself had arrived via emergency hyperspace jump, along with a full diplomatic contingent. The humans were represented by their Global Leadership Council, with Admiral Reeves serving as military advisor. Let me be sure I understand correctly, said Tariq, his tentacles waving in agitation. Not only have the Velbraxans survived their exile, but they have been planning their return for 500,000 years, using humanity as their catalyst. And humanity, a species that achieved FTL travel mere decades after discovering basic electronics, not only refused their offer of alliance, but destroyed 3 of their warships in their first-ever space battle. That's an accurate summary, High Counselor, confirmed Admiral Reeves, looking remarkably calm for someone who had just altered the course of galactic history. Remarkable, murmured Tariq, and deeply concerning. If the Varaxan commander spoke truth about having thousands more ships beyond the rim, then we face a threat unlike any the galaxy has seen in 500,000 years. Finished Dr. Okafor, who had joined the human delegation. Which is why Earth is proposing not just alliance membership but a comprehensive military partnership. Tariq's tentacles stiffened in shock. Military partnership? The alliance hasn't maintained a proper military in over 300,000 years. We have peacekeepers. Certainly, but nothing capable of confronting the Varaxan Imperium at full strength. With all due respect, High Counselor, said Reeves. That's precisely the problem. The Alliance has grown comfortable in its peace. You have forgotten how to fight. Several Alliance representatives bristled at this, their various appendages and sensory organs expressing indignation in species-specific ways. We have not forgotten anything, Admiral said Sub-Bay Counselor Drieg, her serpentine body coiled tightly. We chose to move beyond warfare. There is a difference. A luxury you could afford because there was no external threat, countered Reeves. That's changed now. The Varaxan are coming, whether we are ready or not, and based on what we saw at Observation Post Gamma, they have spent their exile perfecting their war technology, while the Alliance was perfecting peace. I found myself saying, all eyes turned to me, and I immediately regretted speaking, but I'd come this far, so I continued. High Counselor, the Admiral has a point. Our peacekeeping forces are designed to handle minor disputes between member worlds, not full-scale invasion by a technologically superior enemy. And you propose we turn to these newcomers for protection? Asked Tariq, incredulously. A species that has spent most of its history fighting itself. Perhaps that's exactly why you should, suggested Earth's chief representative, a dignified woman named President Maya Lin. We have learned the hard way what war costs. We don't seek it, but we are prepared for it in ways your civilization no longer is. What the President means, added Reeves, is that humanity offers the Alliance something it currently lacks: recent combat experience and military innovation. In return, you offer us something we lack: galactic infrastructure, advanced technology in non-military fields, and the wisdom of 1,000,000 years of peaceful cooperation. High Counselor Chiric's tentacles writhed in what I recognized as deep thought. An intriguing proposition, but many Alliance members will be hesitant to align with a species they perceive as aggressive and unpredictable. Fair enough, acknowledged President Lin, and many humans will be nervous about joining an organization that seems unprepared to defend itself. But I believe our mutual interest in survival outweighs these concerns. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Sub-Counselor Drieg. A phased integration, explained Dr. Okafor, activating a holographic display that showed a detailed timeline. Earth joins the Alliance as a probationary member. In exchange for access to Alliance technology and resources, we provide military expertise and lead the development of defense systems against the Braxton threat. Essentially, you wish to become the Alliance's military arm, summarized Tadarik. For now, agreed President Lin, until the immediate threat is addressed. Long-term, we hope to learn from your peaceful civilization while contributing our own unique perspectives. And if we refuse? Asked Drieg. Admiral Reeves leaned forward. Then we prepare separately. Earth will defend itself, as we always have. But divided, both our civilizations are more vulnerable. A heavy silence fell over the room. I found myself holding my breath, aware that I was witnessing a pivotal moment in galactic history. Finally, High Counselor Turik's tentacles settled into a formal pattern indicating decision. I cannot commit the full alliance without Council approval, but I can authorize provisional acceptance of Earth as a special member state with expedited consideration of your military partnership proposal. President Lin nodded solemnly. That's a reasonable first step. We accept. As the two leaders moved to formalize their agreement, I found myself standing near Admiral Reeves by the observation window. You don't seem surprised by this outcome, Admiral, I observed. Reeves smiled faintly, gazing out at his homeworld. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries. Observer Vex. First contact. Proof we are not alone. Some of us feared it, others hoped for it, but we all prepared for it in our own ways. Even for an enemy like the Vraxan. Especially for enemies. It's in our nature to imagine threats, to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. He turned to me. Your alliance chose to believe that peace was the natural state of the universe. We chose to believe that peace must be earned and protected. And which of us was right? I asked. Both in different ways, he replied. Your million years of peace is an achievement beyond anything in human history. Something to aspire to. But our readiness for conflict may be what preserves that achievement for the next million years. I considered this a symbiotic relationship then. Your strength protecting our wisdom, and your wisdom tempering our strength, added Reeves. We don't want to fight, but we will if we must, especially to protect those who can't or won't fight for themselves. As I watched the formal proceedings continue, a strange thought occurred to me. Perhaps the Vaxan had made a critical error. They had chosen humanity as their catalyst for destruction because of our aggressive, adaptable nature. But those same qualities, properly channeled, might become the Alliance's greatest defense. The very species they had hoped would destroy us might end up being our salvation, and in that irony lay a lesson about assumptions and unexpected outcomes that even a million years of peace hadn't taught us. What are you thinking about, Observer Vex? Asked Reeves, noticing my preoccupation. I'm thinking that the galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place, I replied, and that I may need to request a promotion. Junior diplomatic observer seems inadequate for humanity's liaison. Reeves laughed, a sound both alien and strangely comforting. I have a feeling you will be up to the challenge. If there's one thing we humans appreciate, it's the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Well, I said, surprising myself with a human-like grin, I have certainly had practice at that recently. As our leaders formalized the beginning of this unprecedented alliance, I gazed out at the stars, wondering what the Raxan were thinking now. They had intended to use humanity's wrath to shatter the Alliance's million years of peace. Instead, they had forged a new kind of peace, one with teeth. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Because if there's one thing I'd learned about humans in our brief acquaintance, it was this. They don't start fights if they can avoid it. But when threatened, when provoked, when those they care about are in danger, they finish them. And the Varaxan Imperium had just made the biggest mistake in their long and bloody history. They had given humanity something to protect. May the cosmos have mercy on their souls. Because humanity certainly wouldn't.